Great. Welcome everyone. My name is Raj Sharma. You all are able to see my screen. Can you please confirm on the question panel whether you are all are able to see my screen? You can just write yes so that we can get a confirmation. Great. Thank you. So it's already 3 o'clock. We can start. Once again, welcome everyone. My name is Raj Sharma. Today we have Mr. Navneet Kaushal. He's the CEO of agency called Page Traffic. Navneet has a good amount of experience in handling large accounts, and they are conducting various programs. So today he will be telling us on what are the various changes which are happening in SEO, and we'll discuss about all those points. So, Mr. Navneet, I'm handing over the access to you. So,
Okay.
whether you have got the access.
Yes. Okay.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Raj. Yeah. Thank you. So, okay, we'll be talking a little bit about, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Just give me one sec. So I'm sure you can see my screen properly, no issues. So we will start with this. Okay. Okay, so welcome everyone. Once again, we are here as we do most of these SEOs reviews every year and what has changed in the world of the SEO and what we intend to do. So 2020 has been an interesting year. A lot of things has happened, of course, with COVID and everything, and also in the SEO world, a lot of things have happened. So we're going to talk about what has happened in the 2020, and then we're going to talk about what we might expect in 2021. So let's start with that. And in between, I'll have enough time at the end of that session for the Q&A. So we're gonna start with that. Okay. So now let's see what were the biggest SEO changes in 2020. 2020 was a very turmoil year in terms of the SEO changes as well. So according to Google, Google launched over 4,000 search improvement and new features throughout 2020. So when we were working from home, it was Google who was actually working on their algorithms a lot. So that was something which was being done. And we're going to talk about, of course, Google doesn't share the list of all 4,000 improvements, but we're going to talk about some of these changes which happened. So let's see which all changes were there and those changes. So if you see on my screen, there were major search changes which happened. Was the featured snippet deduping, that was in January to 2020. Then of course in May 2020, Google came with a very big core update. So there were two core updates in together. So I'm only talking about the bigger updates. Of course, these are only 4 updates I have in front of you. So there were 3096 updates still there, but that's not what were the major ones, because for example today also when Google update happens, so it continues to happen, but when we take what we more need to see is when the core update happens and a lot of websites gets affected. So then the May 2000 was a core update. Then there was a COVID-19 SEO shift. We're going to talk a little bit about this. Then Google declared about Core Web Vitals, which is going to become an algorithm and a ranking factor in May 21. And then when we thought we are getting over the worst, Google on the 6th of December drops another bomb and calls it as December 2020 core update. This was quite a big update and had the whole industry talking about. A lot of websites have still not recovered with this update. So this was quite a big update which happened that time. And now let's start with what all updates happened, and we're going to talk about a little bit of this. So first update which happened was the deduplication of the featured snippet URL. So Google announced on January 22nd that it will be cutting the duplication of featured snippet URLs on the search engine result page. So featured snippets are when you search something on the Google. So usually previously when there were no snippets, there would be 10 results coming in top 10. Now with featured snippet, there would be 11. So featured snippet was a position 0. So we would call it a position 0, and below that there would be 10 more URLs. So featured snippet used to display as position 0 in a box at the top of the SERP. but the only thing was the same URL would rank number 2 or in the 1 or 2 for the same keyword. So that was being twice. So now Google adjusted it, and Google said that if you have a featured snippet, you cannot have a duplicate result for this rankings organic results also. So they removed the featured D snippet, and it was called as deduplication because it was creating a duplication. Let's see an example about that. Before this change, if you turn, for example, if you see a lot of things you search, this is this, if you see on the top, that's the featured snippet. So this is what the SERPs look like. If you type how to do content marketing, case matrix post will come, and then if you see on the number 3 there, that's also the case matrix report which is coming, if you see. So number 2, so there's what 2 results. Now after the update, this is what happened. The other website took over and there was no same sites. That's what it happened. So now we as a marketer think what actually changed, what different does it make, or how does it make a better to me? And then there were questions. So if I have a choice between being at number 2 and having a featured snippet, what should I take? I mean, should I, because you could actually disavow yourself from not getting featured in, not getting ranked in a featured snippet. So that was a thing. So there was a study done with Ahrefs, and it says if with no featured snippet, 26% of the click goes to the first URL. With featured snippet, 8.6% of the clicks go to the featured, and the 19.6% of the clicks go to the natural search result right below the featured snippet. So featured snippets are often referred to as a no-click search result because normally we don't click on that. You just need information. There is a snippet. You read that, you move on. So for you to decide, do I need to be optimized for featured snippet? Because if you see it just 8.6%, then you need to think from a marketer, is that a position I want to be? Now that answer lies within you, but I would just give you a hint that if I myself, would I like to be on a featured snippet, will depend on the kind of keyword. So for example, if it's a money keyword, I want this keywords people to land and do something to purchase my product or to subscribe to my services. Basically, I want people to take action because of that keyword. I would avoid being in a featured snippet. So that was something. So depending, as I said, depending on your marketing goals, remaining as a featured snippet might be optimal for your website and user. But if your goal is to get people to click on your website, then you might not have. And then Google said that no snippet tag allow you to prevent your page from ranking in the featured snippet, which is the FS box, but you run the risk of that. So then your GSC performance reports will not be affected because the FS box was already counted in the reports. So this was confirmed by the Google Danny Soplian, and this was confirmed by him that that's how it's gonna be. So that was the thing where we have to decide no snippet tag or we want to have a featured snippet. That was it. Then after that, the biggest update happened of the Google May 2020 core update. Google on 4th of May through Twitter announced that they are going to launch a broad update, which saw lots and lots of site plummets. If you want to read more about it, we have a whole section on this on pagetraffic.com/blog. You could go to that section and you could find about the May 2020 update. We have done a pretty decent analysis of that. But just to summarize it, so May 2 core update was an EAT update, which the EAT update happened just before the before a couple of years back. So it was kind of an EAT update, which means the authority was there. So so that happened at that time. So of course, so the EAT authority, and that was more looked into and the quality of content. So if you had a good content, you would find your site ranking in Google. But if you had a bad content, the quality of the content was not good, your site was actually not doing so. A stands for authority and T for trustness. So that was something. So what can you do if you are still stuck with a May 2000 and your site has not improved? So in our experience, we have lots of clients coming to us, future clients who or the new clients who came to us and said that they have this problem. So then we went into their website and we actually fixed some of these things, which I'm going to share with you, and you can use that. And yes, they all work. So edit and refresh all content on your website. So demonstrate real life experience skills. So if you have any old content on your websites, important to edit and refresh that. Remove low count thin content pages. So with the help of Screaming Frog or various other tools, you can check which of your pages have how many words of content. Any content which is less than 200 words would relatively count towards a low count thin page. So either you can remove it, or you can go ahead and add more content to that page. Then you need to have a mix of no follow links. If you have only do follow links coming, that would be an issue, because the intent is that you are doing link building, which is unnatural from Google perspective. So that was one hit. Backlinks from high referring domains. So the backlinks which are coming to you from the websites, those websites should have high referring domains, or we called as RD. In an Ahrefs, you can see that. So you need at least 100 plus RD backlinks from a domain which has at least 100 plus RDs, high referring domains, to that website. And of course, health, medical, and finance website need to improve on the EAT aspect as well. Very important, Google have previously monitored if the site was slow, those sites also got hurt. So focus on website speed was important. And of course, site needs to be accessible to users, so accessibility was also looked into it. And of course, watch the competition. If you see, has the competition been there? Is if they have not moved down, or there you see a competition moved up, you need to study that what exactly is good in them. So those are the things you could do for that. Just to focus on that, what exactly does it focus on then? Higher authority sites. One, again, more root domains links, more traffic, keyword focused content optimization down, content header and rich media. No follow links count now, kind of, sort of. Not building link is actually bad, white hat. Thin content, of course, the site which started coming in top were having very niche, very high content, and niche edits where you actually purchase not a guest post, or you just have a post in which you uh, actually have your link added to it. So that was his. And if you were getting too many foreign site links, those were hint. And of course, tier linking, when you are having a direct link to your website, that's called as tier 1. When a link back is coming to the tier 1, that's called as tier 2. So that's how the tier thing works. Right. So besides the elephant in the room, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic, which we still are not through. So the COVID-19 actually changed everything in 2020, as we all know, and a lot of changes we see will become a norm. So it's not that the consumer, us as a consumers, our habits change. So a lot of those habits changed. So what happened in those things, we're going to be seeing on that. And so let's see the consumer habits, how those habits were affected in this, and what all done that. So we're going to talk about that. So let's see how actually, we all know COVID-19 shifted our purchase behavior, we went to online, so all that is over. But how did COVID-19 actually shifted the SEO? So that is an interesting thing to understand, that how did it shifted the SEO part. So if you see here, the user behavior changed dramatically. For example, if you see, the dark blue sites are the more than usual. So browsing the internet became 54%, that's more than usual. Using social media, our social media usage increased, streaming videos increased. Online shopping was almost about the same, a bit increased initially, but then it came back, but yes, it increased. Listening to streaming media increased. Reading and writing emails, actually, yes, more than usual. And then people stopped spending any extra money, so that was also curtailed. And shopping in stores, of course, decreased. So the way consumers are engaging with brand has changed after COVID-19. More people are surfing on the web, less people are shopping in stores. Post COVID-19, we expect a lot of these behavior will likely to be ingrained in us as the new normal. So we would rather be doing our shopping online all the time, or maybe just go store once a while, once this pandemic is all over us, behind us. So if we see, this is the e-commerce, surprisingly, not surprisingly, but it obviously has grown dramatically. So the global e-commerce market share, if we see the market share, if you see that the GMV, the growth, so if you see that growth has happened to Alibaba, Amazon, so this is a global e-commerce market. So even as a business reopen, we have got used to ordering a lot of necessities online, and we have not we moved back from online to offline world yet. And that's what we as a marketer expect, that lots of people are going to stick to the online. So that's how the e-commerce has grown. That's just the e-commerce numbers for you for India. So if you see the e-commerce annual online shoppers have increased from 110 millions to 160 millions. Online percentage of total spending, retail spend jumped from almost double in a 2 years from 2.6 to 5. And of course, annual gross merchandise will move to $38 million. So that's the Indian e-commerce number for you, just to show that how we are expanding and how this e-commerce thing is exploding. Uh, Video conferencing is likely here to stay. Work from home has become essential. Big all kids participate in distance learning, of course. So Zoom, Google Classroom, Google Meet, Microsoft Team, those all have seen the increase, and we believe that it's not something which will go back to the pre-COVID area. The interesting thing, this is a US facts, market became less competitive in 2020. So with the unemployment rate increased and a lot of small businesses shut down. Surprisingly, the US billionaire wealth increased, a 21% increase. Why did that happen? So what happened is large corporations are able to have a strong foothold and press on the paddle. So when they need more to invest more in the digital marketing, while SMBs lost any sort of momentum due to COVID-19. So most of the SMBs stopped spending money, and that's where that thing happened. So that's where the large corporations actually spend more money. So let's see why those big corporations able to stand, which I give you the reason. So annual global marketing, look at the marketing cost of Amazon. So huge number of Amazon is spent, marketing budget is spent on digital marketing. So if you see with the 2019, and it continues to grow, so that is the number where they've been spending too much money in digital. That is something which has helped. Now this was a research from McKinsey, and so if you see there are some consumptions which has declined. If you see there are some consumption which are probably temporary, some are enduring. So we're gonna see that. So for example, reduction in international trade, international travel. So yes, it's temporary, but it's something which will probably be enduring. So people might for some distance future might travel less internationally. The reduction in the on-the-go consumption, so when you would go and have buy anything out of impulse, that thing have decreased, and preference for trusted brand have increased, and so the focus on health as hygiene we think has increased, and people have large baskets of shopping has decreased. So we believe that is something gonna stay. Digital acceleration, preference to digital entertainment has temporarily increased. Of course, once everything goes back to the normal, that will decrease. However, what is gonna stay same is gonna be remote working, e-commerce, fitness on demand, entertainment channel shift from physical to digital, and of course rise of e-pharmacy and online doctors. So a lot of us took in advice online. So a doctor who was not accessible previously, now very easy, he would rather be more than happy to give a consultation online, so which helps. So, and these are the things which believe will continue for the future as well. So this was the update then, and this is what happened for this COVID. So we're gonna talk a little bit, I will go more into it as well, and how we can, what all have changed in terms of the SEO as well, how our SEO or future SEO will change from that. Then Google December 2020 core update, which happened, which rolled for almost a lot of time. So on December 3rd, Google announced the new core algorithm, and this update also it took 2 weeks to roll it for all of the countries. The December core update hits every site differently. Some site which has lost traffic in May core update gained in this update, and some subtypes which have already recovered from May update again lost the traffic. So that's something interesting. So then we analyzed a lot of websites, and we found some of these inferences and observations are in front of you. User experience is now more important. User experience is one of the key factors that Google considers for ranking. User experience is combination of website design, layouts, ad load, how easy user can navigate the site, and more. For example, answer.com is one of the winner of this update, and an effortless design with very few ad loads. So that's something, if you look at the answer.com, it doesn't have too much of the content, but still win because it gives people what they want, answers, and very fast. So after December 2020 update, let's see what matters now. So relevancy of the content is very, very important. With when people are searching something, and that content has to match very closely to people were searching. So the search intent has to match with the content. Thin content, which has, it may also, a lot of websites got hit and is now more, so people, Google is very strict with thin content. So if you have a thin content, it is better to not delete those content rather than having those content for the sake of having it, because it's going to hurt your website. Expertise article is winning, like in an authority site. So any article which is expertise more than 2000 words is winning than an authority site. Search intent is most important and come first, which of course is something which I spoke in the first point. Also relevancy, also that something is becoming important. No follow links are useful enough. So it's no longer you could just have all the links do follow, which I spoke before. Also the no follow links, a mix of no follow and do follow became useful. A site with good number of referring domains gain, the my update also talked about. So if your site has a good number of referring domains, so you would probably get, you will gain on that. So, and site speed is probably a very good signal. So you need to ensure that your site is fast and speed up. So that becomes very, very important. And of course, as we talked about in the my update, the same thing is here. Watch the competition, what they are doing good, what you are not doing. So that is something which also needs to be sent. So let's say, now let's see SEO things that won't change in 2021. So we're going to talk about what expecting to be changed in SEO, but let's see what are the SEO changes that actually are not going to change in 2021. So creating great useful content. So if you have not been investing in creating content, start now. 2020 been spent a lot in content. We came up with our own COVID-19 survival guides, did a lot of this content marketing, and it actually bore the fruit. So 78% of consumer prefers getting to know a company via article rather than ads, and 70% of the people believe that organization providing custom content are interested in building good relationship with them. So that's why the content marketing becomes important. Content marketing doesn't just mean having an article on your website, it means releasing it on different websites. Having a whole content marketing is very, very important. So let's see what kind of a type of content to create. Video and live stream. Best content could be a number one content is actually going to work is when you're going to have the videos and live stream. So watching, because if you see with the COVID-19, the watching the video became number one activity which people are doing online. So, and if you see the main activity that people takes part in online is the watching videos, with as much as third of the online activities. So 33% of all the activities people do is actually watching videos. So videos and live streams became important. So you could do videos, you could do live streams, which could be something which would gather more stuff for you, and of course get you more links, likes as well. Just to give you an idea on video live stream optimization, it's important you choose the right video hosting platform with good buffering, and important to have a video transcript, but because some people might like to watch it on mute. Make sure your thumbnail image is engaging. So the common mistake which people do is just have the video and forget about the thumbnail. So you could have a custom thumbnail image which could be engaging, and pay attention to the title and the description of your video. Just don't just put it. So you need to have a description which is well done, and title doesn't need to be spammy but doesn't need to be very small. So you need to pay attention to that, and ensure the rest of your page is relevant to the video and optimized for SEO. So on a page where you embed, it needs to be optimized for SEO. Should not be a dynamic page which cannot be accessed. So those are the things which are important. Now, type of contents to create. Another content is creative content. You could have, for example, just an example, which color is it? So you could have an engaging content where readers are actually engaging with your content. That's interactive content can be built. So how do we do interactive optimization? Again, you do visually engaging content. Imagery and messaging has to be on brand. You focus on the UI specifically, that the UI has to be good. Just don't just embed the video and expect people to use that, because interactivity is not just video, it has to be how the user interacts with your website or your content. Make sure you promote to gain link equity. Ensure the rest of page, as I said in the video, also ensure rest of your page is relevant to the interactive. Now also they're gonna be what we now call as soft ranking factors. So something interesting, some ranking factors are short. These are some UX factors that are called soft ranking factor. For example, page speed and HTTPS example of soft ranking factors, yet though they are ranking factor, they are considered less impactful. So for example, in the example of HTTPS, Google have gone on record during Webmaster Hangout and said HTTPS does not directly affect the rankings, but can be used as a tiebreaker. So the important word here is tiebreaker. So if two websites has a similar content, similar SEO, the website which Google is going to rank better is going to be the one which is fast in speed. So that soft ranking factor plays a very, very important role. Okay. Yes, a soft ranking factor more or less means that it is a minor factor in comparison to known ranking factor such as links. So that is something which needs to be taken into mind. And of course, importance of UX design. So design needs to be interactive, design needs to be fast loading, and it needs to be engaging so people stick on your website. That is very, very important. Other soft ranking factors includes brand authority, speed, because speed is user experience. So this is from John Mueller, the Google. In 2005, he said, if we are seeing an extremely high response time for request made to your site, at times over 2 seconds, this has resulted in us severely limiting the number of URLs scrolled from your website. So just in a normal language, if your website page, when Google sends its crawler is one page is taking more than 2 seconds to fetch, then Google is actually going to crawl your website less. So that becomes an important factor, that your website is faster not only to user, but also accessible and faster to Google bot. Focus on your audience. So pre-COVID personas are no longer valid. So take a step back and revisit what people are searching for and create new personas. So if I had a persona, if I had a keyword which I had before the COVID, that is not going to be helpful. It's more helpful is going to be when you are focusing on your audience. So you have to personify what kind of audience, and that's something the keyword research post COVID now is going to be something which will be interesting to do. And if you have not done keyword research for some time using the same keywords and thinking, yeah, these are the one I've selected 3 years back and people are coming for it, that's no longer the case. So I would recommend you visiting again and seeing what all keywords you could do and what all you can do for the persona. So a lot of volume of keywords have changed, a lot of things have changed. So keyword research needs to be updated. As we know, keyword research from awareness, familiarity, consideration, curbside delivery in the US. For example, you still need to keep state into account with keyword research. But so what are the need of the people? But search intent has changed this year, meaning keyword portfolio needs to be updated, as I said. For example, curbside delivery, where people would just park the car and expect the delivery to be done and put in their boot. That was in March. In April, it peaked, but still is more popular than previously, as you see if you see the Google trends. You need to move beyond intent, so experience forecasting. So this is an interesting thing and very, very interesting thing if you start doing it now. So how can you rank for the terms and provide content that not only matches user query but help the user better understand your product so that they can accurately forecast their experience? For example, once the user have converted, how can you keep user engaged? What next? What are the post conversion queries they have? What other problems they have? Shut the door. So that becomes very, very important, that just not sell it, what you want to be doing it, moving beyond the intent when the customer has taken the given action. So for example, just an example, if you want people to fill a form on your website, once they fill the form and they go to the thanks page, what do you want that thanks page to say about that? So you just say thank you. Do you want to engage? What kind of conversion? A good way is to have an FAQ on the thanks page where people might have seen expectations on a thank page. So it's easy. It's important to keep people engaged long after you have they filled the forms or done the action which you want them to do. Now let's see the opportunities for 2021. Structured data, FAQ, and how to are very, very important. So we did this presentation last year about where we talk about how you can do the FAQ and how-to. So I'm not going to go more into these. So if you can see, this is FAQs, schema, and also the PAA, which is called as people also ask. So these are some things. Structured data is going to be very, very important. So featured snippet, as we know, is going to be structured data. This is going to be also important for you to target. One thing very interesting is Google has started doing live event schema markup. I'm not asking you to abuse the system, but let's say we are doing this live schema. Yes, the digital Vidya has done the live schema markup. So to get more sign-ups, more people visit. So that's something, live event schema markup, which is important. So schemas are important. I have been saying this for last many years, and yes, I still continue to say as Google continues to launch new schemas, so these are important. Information architecture, optimize content using topical clusters. So you have pillar content, you have cluster content, you have hyperlinks. Your keywords have keywords, and topical cluster reinforces the relevancy of the section of the site. As you optimize your content, you should build out topical clusters to comprehensively rank for your keyword set. So those are very, very important for you. So the pillar content around which you're gonna build the content, and then there is to be a, that is the main pillar, main content, and then there is going to be the cluster content, which is going to be related content, and that needs to be like linking back to the pillar content, and that becomes very, very important. So you give that whole topic cluster and importance in terms of Google, and Google see yes, that topic is important, and then it starts ranking up. PA as well as POC people also ask, that is an important thing. Videos is something very, very important to do. And after that, an algorithm update. I spoke about an algorithm update which is coming in May 2021 with a new ranking factor. So Google have given this update. This is called as the new page experience signal, Core Web Vitals. So it is LCP, which is, it might sound little technical, but trust me, it's better left to the developer, but we need to understand the basic, what exactly it means. So it's more about the core web vitals are how the page loads, how the interactivity and visual stability. So the loading comes to largest contentful paint, which is LCP. Interactivity is first input delay, how fast the first you could do the first input, so that is FID. And visual stability is how cumulative layout shifts, so how you scroll, that is CLS. So that becomes, before that of course the search signals were mobile friendly, safe browsing, HTTPS, no intrusive interstitials. So those were the things. So these are the core web. So what we so far know, so the page experience algorithm update will be released in by 2021, and we have been given 6 months notice before it rolls out. We will have to work to do. Google only pre-announce updates like this when there are specific things we need to do. For example, if you remember mobile first indexing, Google gave almost a 1 year when they said that their crawler is going to visit mobile, their crawler is going to do mobile first indexing first. So that is something which is also there. And see, the core web vitals are made of 3 metrics that help to measure the user experience of the page as it loads, not just the object load times. So LCP will measure visual loading, first input delay will measure interactivity, and cumulative layout will measure visual stability. Core Web Vitals will be updated annually to cover even more UX elements not yet being measured, such as smoothness and privacy. So those are some of the things which Google will be doing that. And besides that, the under 2.5 second, that's gonna be the LCP. Under 100 millisecond is gonna be the FID, and CLS is gonna be less than 0.1. That's the Google's graph for you. So you could measure some of these with Core Web Vitals through these ComDev tools. And so there are 2 types of tools. One is the Core Web Vitals, which is the Google through Google Lighthouse, and then there is the field data, which is the real user measurement, which is collected by Google through the Google User Experience Report. So these are the 2, lab versus field data. How do you do that? I'm just going to go briefly into it. You review data in GSC, you go to a Core Web Vitals, which Google is going to tell you about what all issues you have. Then you run a test on this measure, or in a Lighthouse, you could use a plugin for that, or DevTools, or in a Page Speed Insight. And then you get this, so you get internalized site stop issues. So it will give you all these issues, and you can validate, follow the Google guidelines for that. So now they were, if you remember, I'll go back and tell you something. So they were LCP, FID, and CLS. So if you see the how can I improve my LCP, the LCP is the first thing. So how, that means you need to have improved server response time, reduce TTFB. How can I improve my server response time? Either being on a good host, and very, very important to utilize CDNs and link rel pre-connect, and you start doing caching those links. So that's something which can be done. Reduce the file size of resources. You could use smart pixel or short pixel, sorry, some tools like that to reduce your file sizes, compressing, and of course caching and CDN can do that. And prioritizing the loading of critical resources. So for example, when you know on this page to interact, these are the important resources. For example, if the page has just a form, and the images and the content, you need the form should load first, then you could do the link rel preload, and you could actually ensure that that particular portion or the critical resources or a particular image which can is loads preloads. So that's how you could optimize for LCP. Optimizing for FID, responses to user interactive. So here it's important that you analyze third-party scripts. If there are too many of tags included in your page, it's better to use the Google Tag Manager GTM and try to have that optimized. Test interactivity of server-side rendered content as pixels can be done. That should be done. Minimize main thread works. So you could split your code into smaller chunks and use web workers to deliver code of the main thread. So instead of having the whole code, that could be for the optimizing for FID. Optimizing for CLS, a site sudden layout lift, specific images and embed dimension with its widths and height attributes, or use a CSS aspect ratio box to block out the required space. This is important to access on responsive sites, which often leave this out. So that's important for a responsive site to do something like that. Assign a static space to add space. So push non-sticky ads below the viewpoint, below the viewport, and add placeholders to reserved space rather than collapsing empty ones. Avoid inserting new dynamics content above existing content unless this is in response to user interactions. So do not have a unique dynamic content above the existing content. You can have it below it. So that's something you got. Optimizing for mobile. Ensuring mobile friendly experience. Use mobile friendly test and mobile usability report in GSC, Google Search Console, to see how well adopted pages are to mobile. Incompatible plugins, viewport not set, and text to smaller, very common errors which Google gives you. So those are the issues you should really avoid. Use URL profiler to query the mobile friend test API at scale. If Google tools return no result, run a few hundred pages to verify. So you would use the Google mobile friend test API also for that. And optimizing for safe browsing. Check the security issues report in GSC to see whether your site has any hacked content, malware, unwanted software, social engineering attack. And again, use URL profiler to query the Google Safe Browsing API to test the safety of a broader subset of your page. So that's also important, how you optimize for safe browsing. So that needs to be taken care of. So those are then optimizing HTTPS. So sometime you have an HTTPS page, but you are by mistake linking to some HTTP URLs. That's something needs to be taken care of. So spot check connection security in browsers. So if individual URLs have connection that aren't secure, so if maybe by mistake you have taken a script, you're trying a script from some software and that is not HTTPS, or maybe you built a site and you by mistake just linked Twitter to HTTP rather than HTTPS, because all these big sites run on HTTPS. And run a full website crawl of your website URL and resources to identify pages, forms, image, and script that are being served over HTTP. So is there any page, is there any form, script? So you could do this easily with a Screaming Frog. 500 up to 500 pages is free, so you can do easily. That's the best tool I would say to run this out. And look out for expired certificate TLS version. So on maybe the HTTPS is blocked by the Roberts text and content embed. So ensure your certificate is not expiring soon. If it's expiring in next 30 days, it's better to renew it for at least a couple of years. Doesn't cost too much now. So those are the things which you can do. Optimizing interest trails, keeping key content obstructs. So analyze cookie banner and pop-up designs. They are not taking too much of the viewport for the user. Use your browser or screenshot in Chrome Dev tool to do more manual analysis. So you can use screenshots and you can see, okay, how the interest trail is happening. Use a crawler with JavaScript rendering enabled for analysis at scale. In Screaming Frog, you can go to render page tab and flick through a screenshot of the crawler list of the page. So in a Screaming Frog, now the new version, which was launched a couple of years back, in fact last year, gives you these options of JavaScript rendering, and you can, if you enable that, you could actually go and see which of the pages screenshots of the crawlers have, how those pages are getting rendered. So those are the things which can be done as well. Just to summarize, I have given lots of these data and resources, so you could check all of these resources. We will be putting this presentation online, and you could actually look some of these as well. We will do it after this session today. So those are the things which you could do. The search engine journal articles about improving core web vital is something on important, so I would recommend going through this as well. So that would be the most of my presentations, and now we're going to be taking Q&A. So I So we are now be open for Q&A. Raj, you there?
Yeah, Navneet. So
Yeah.
I hope you
So
can see the question. Do you have the
let
access
me
of the question panel?
I'm just looking at the question panels.
So there is one question by Ashish. He's saying, what were the main changes in December update? So guys, questions, please panel, and then Navneet can questions.
Yeah, I cannot see the question, so maybe if you could load that for me, you can tell me and I'll answer those. So okay, for the December update, so what were the main changes in the December update, as you guys have asked? So the main changes in December update was related to the content, which was a kind of addendum to what was in the May. So what we have seen for a lot of websites which have lost their rankings or lost the traffic was when their content was of a low quality. A thin content is one thing, but a content of a low quality is something also. So the December update was mainly targeted toward this. And of course, if your site does not have too many RDs, root domain, that was another problem which we have. So in order to fix from the December updates, you need to ensure your do not have a thin content. Second, you also need to ensure that your web page has quality content. And third important is, yes, you have the root domain. So it's not that you're just getting links from 50, 100 websites. 2,000 links from 50 websites is going to be far worse than having 1,000 links from 100 websites. So that way. Yeah, Raj.
Yeah, so we have a new question by Arush saying how the May 21 update will be different from May 2020 core update.
Okay, so the May 2020 update was a core update which was basically targeted towards the content. Google didn't advise that what that update has done to you. That now May 2021 update is going to be the core web vital. So it's only going to be about your core web vital. You remember if we talked about these LCPs and all those. So this I'm just opening with in front of you. So this is the update which was at that time. So the LCP, FID and CLS. So it's more kind of a technical update. So it's not the May and the December updates were more of an SEO updates, but this is more about the core web vitals, how you improve your core web vitals. So but that's gonna be a, it's again, we do not expect to be a very major ranking factors, but yes, it's gonna play a role in being rankings when you have a tiebreaker, as just in the case of HTTPS. Raj.
From Vishal, he's saying DA and DR, which one is good to follow?
DA and DR.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, since Rand Fishkin left Moz, it's not something of a very good metrics we tried. Ahref is the world market leader when it comes to links. So internally, wow, we moved from DA to DR. So because it gives you a lot of data. So we have seen DR is a much better matrix to follow than a DA. Yeah, Raj.
There's a question from Rameshwar. He's saying, is the December core algorithm updates was that made for Indian market or?
Hello.
I
I just
repeat,
lost.
the question
Yeah.
is the December core algorithm updates was that made for Indian market or global market?
uh, all of these updates which happened were for the global market. So usually there is, I in my experience of last almost 2 decades, I can't recall just an update being targeted towards the Indian markets. All the updates starts from the US and then they go global. So as Google said that the update take almost 2 weeks to roll, so it started from the US and then of course it all the English language countries, that's usually the update went. So it was not just India, it started from the US. Raj.
There's a question from Pratik. He's saying, which platform is good for keyword in market?
For keyword,
Which platform is good for keyword research for India market?
see, at the end of the day, all of these are taking data from Google AdWords tools. So the platform which I would still use, Keyword Everywhere is a good tool. You could use Keyword Everywhere, and you could use SEMrush. Now, all of these major tools, even Ahref allows you to do keyword research, has India in it. So if you're looking for a cheaper solution, Keyword Everywhere is good. If you are looking for the good solution, then I would say SEMrush is good enough. Raj.
Arush is saying how to target high DA websites for building links.
High DA or a DR website can only be targeted when you have some meaningful content. So there are some techniques which are something like skyscraper and some other techniques which you could use. However, the only thing is that you need to have a good content to target those websites. But when you means for a high DR, if you say, okay, I need a link from NY Times or Forbes, that's not going to happen. Those are not the links which are easily available, even with a good high quality of content. But otherwise, you could keep on searching for a website which are in a niche and try to produce a content on your web page which they are linking to in a similar content, and then offer them to link back to that content and saying, okay, hey, you have linked to this piece talking about this particular service or feature, and I have this piece which is better than that. So I would think this is gonna add value to your user. So that's the way you could target those. Yeah, Raj.
Okay, Wasim is saying how to improve the keywords rather than rank.
How to improve the keyword rather, how to improve the keywords?
Rather than rank of the page.
Okay, so the ranking is always of the keywords, not of the page. So of course, the how to increase the rankings, if your page authority increases, not in terms of PA, but in terms of general, that if you have more links coming to your page and the keywords you are targeting for that page, then automatically you will start ranking in the top. So the whole idea is, when you say about ranking, those are for keywords, but when you build links, you build links for the pages, not exactly keeping in a keyword. So if your page authority or page rank, which we used to say, increases, automatically the keyword ranking for that page will also increase. Raj.
Okay, Wasim is saying is if DA or PA is 10 plus, will this matter the keyword rather than rank?
If the DA of your page is 10 plus, will it
Yeah.
matter? I would still say DA 10 is quite low. So, but if it's a very long tail keyword, yes, they can rank. But DA is just a matter that how many pages backlinks are linking back to you, or how many RDs you have. So if you have a higher DA, then you have a better chances of getting the keywords ranked for that particular page. Raj.
Okay, Arushi is saying how to search for low competition, high competition keyword.
Low competition, maybe she's saying low competition and high volume keywords, I'm sure. So
Yeah,
the,
high
because the
volume. I'm
keyword,
sorry.
yeah, so the low competition and high volume keywords, I'll just give an example. So first of all, you have to understand any keyword tool doesn't give you the exact idea. So just an example, we as a brand name page traffic, we get almost 4,000 to 5,000 visitors a month for that particular keyword. But when you go to Google, it doesn't show up that much as a traffic. So it's not that. And also second is, when you believe that particular keyword is searched for a particular service, so there are some keywords. For example, we have a page on our website which talks about cross-linking of domains. Now if you go type how to cross-link or cross-linking of domains, you'll find it in top, and it gets lots and lots of traffic, more than what Google estimates in their search volume, or SEMrush or any other tool. So the whole idea is, if you could find a keyword which has the featured snippet, that keyword is probably searched, and you could go for that, and that would be the simplest way to do. Raj.
Harshani is saying suggest a free tool that can be used to track keyword ranking on daily basis for both Indian and global market.
There is no free tool available to do trackings for I mean global. So I'm afraid, even if I'm yet to find a free tool which would do that. Or there are plugins with Chrome plugins you could use, but there is no free tools. Free, otherwise our tools comes around like $5 or $10 a month also. So you could try some of those. Raj.
Okay, Ramesh is saying is blogs with dynamic content based websites are ranking better than static page content in 2021, like
See,
you have shared about answers.com.
See, the answer.com was ranking for the Q&A. It's not, I have the reason why answer.com rank is because a lot of people are contextually linking to that particular answer. So that is something. But in a general word, if we take out answer.com and a bigger website, so when you, just to give you a small tip, when you are optimizing SEO, when you are doing SEO for any keyword, what the best way is to do a quick keyword search in Google, and take the top 10 take the matrix of those top 10 pages, how many number of root domains to that particular domains, number of pages on that website, and the content. And then the best way to find the average is take the highest and take the lowest one out. So you're left with 8 and then divided it by 8, and then you will get the average. So that's where those things will happen. So in terms of going back to the static content, is still the content is not exactly static or dynamic, because it's the page which is dynamic or static, and content can be interactive. So I would not say that the content is dynamic, but however, if you have a longer page, if you are looking to rank for your blog post, I would recommend going for at least 2000 words to start ranking them in Google and see some major improvements. Raj.
Okay, there's one more question by I don't see the name. Like how to follow the daily updates by Google. Must be some updates which has happened in Feb and March. So how we can get to know what are the new updates which are happening?
Okay, so first of all, Google doesn't announce all the updates except maybe 2 updates in a year are Google officially announces that, but we as a search engine marketers keeps on tracking a lot of SEOs. The best place to monitor and see most of these updates is a website called SE Roundtable, SEROUND table. So Barry does that. So SE Roundtable, it does pretty much coverage of all of the updates which happens. So that is your go-to place, Raj.
There's one more question by Pratik. He's saying which tool can be used to analyze web traffic other than Google? Do we have any other free tool which we can use for analyzing the traffic of our website?
There are no tools. Microsoft did came with Clarity, which you could use. There are other of free tools which are available, but they have limit to around 10,000 of 20,000 visitors a month. So if you have high traffic, it's not going to help. But Microsoft Clarity is a good software. Microsoft have recently came and comes with a free heat map, so you can try that. Raj.
Yeah. Prajakta is saying how to do a better content marketing.
How to do better content marketing will means what are you doing currently. So unless we know what are you doing currently, it's very difficult to answer. But just to assuming if you are not doing any content marketing, the things which you need to do content marketing is we shared interactive videos, live streams, webinars, and of course having infographics, nicely done infographics, having ebooks. Those are the things which should be in your, anybody in content marketing should be doing. Raj.
There's a question from Arushi again. How to form a good content under EAT core update? So what criteria we should follow?
See, the criteria is simple, that you should have the content which is authoritative, and that is a content which needs to bring something value to the user. And when we did our last presentation, there is a whole lot of things which we have discussed, so it's not easy for me to summarize it here, but so that's something you could Google on, and you would find that how the EAT can be done. So mainly it's about the authoritativeness of the page, and how you do that. So the content, the length of the content, quality of the content, and how trustworthy the content is. So that is going to be important thing. Raj.
Right. So there's one question by Akshay. He's saying what are the rich snippets? I think you have already defined that, but if you want to share, you can speak.
So the rich snippets are the snippets when for example, when you're typing something in Google, so those are the results which comes on the top, which actually expects you not so if you type mostly how to, so if you say how to boil an egg, you will see a rich snippet which comes on the top. So those are the things which you could see, and so that's basically a rich snippet on the top, but that's the featured snippet. If rich snippets are there, different sort of snippets, there are almost 20, I think more than 28 plus snippets which Google has. So there are different sort of snippets. If you could go to Google and type different type of snippets, you will get a pretty good section talking about that. Raj.
Yeah, there's another question by Juna. He's saying what is the recommended number of words for a web page and a blog page? Like if we create a product page, what should be the number of words we should use? And if for a blog page?
See, typically depends on your industry. As I mentioned, you could look in the top 10 pages and see what kind of a number of words are coming in for all of these top 10 sites. But we have seen for a blog page, anything of 1200 words is okay. The higher side is better, but just because if I say you need to have 2000 words, you don't just use to cram 2000 words. Again, they need to reflect expertise, they need to reflect the authority and trustworthiness. So those are very, very important. And for the otherwise for the updates which we have on the products page, anything above 200 300 page. But for a product page, it's not about the words, it's about the layout. As I've talked about, Google is getting strongly into UX, so that's also very, very important, plays a very important role. Raj.
There's a question by Arushi. She's saying, will Google new Q&A section affect the website SERP ranking?
The Q&A session is going to help you if you are ranking in top 10, specifically top 5. So you get better click through, and of course you get more real estate on Google results. So and of course it's going to help in ranking. I don't see any downside to having a Q&A on your web page. Raj.
There's a question like, what kind of framework? I think it's a similar question. Like, what should be the ideal framework we should use to get our blog post rank?
See, there is a very simple framework for you to use, is that how the top 10 results are coming. You could use lots of tools are available online. So you could try one of those tools, they can analyze for you. Surfer SEO is a very good tool if you can afford that. It will analyze top 10 results and tell you what all you need to on your page, how you need to have your hashtag, how much content you need to see. Those are the things which are recommended for that. So I would recommend a tool, because each industry, each blog post would have a different parameter. So there is no one set number for this. Raj.
It is saying he has updated some meta description content on his e-commerce website, which Google is not crawling.
So the question is, has Google,
and some other description is visible there, what he should do?
So the point is that that's because Google now picks even the title itself and the description itself. The best way is, for whichever keyword you are typing or searching, is that keyword in your meta description also as early as possible. So that is the simplest way to do it. And if there is another content which Google is scrolling and you don't want, you could actually block that snippet from Google not being crawled. So, but in a nutshell, your description should have those keywords which people are searching, and the description is not showing. Raj.
There's a question by Prajakta. She's saying, share some tactics on how to rank one keyword quickly. I think this must be.
Okay, I'll very quickly tell. First of all, it's very, very important. You depends on your site. So site could be categorized into three parts. One is a starter website, which is less than a year. Then there is a middle-aged website, which is 12 months to 24. And then there is a website which is more than 24 months. So it depends which stage of your website. So for example, if you've just made a website live yesterday, it's going to go into a Google sandbox for at least 3 to 6 months. So if expecting a quick result there is not going to help. But again, if it's a middle age or a different one, then website, of course, the on page going, the best way is go to Google Search Console, look at the how many impressions and clicks for which keyword you are getting. If there are too many impressions and lesser clicks, run through the rank report and see if any of those keywords are in second page. Tweaking a title a little bit and having just an H1 tag, just a little bit change, can actually do magic to your page. That would be the quickest one. Raj.
There's a question by Orlando. He's saying, how does it take to show results after updating SEO parameters? How much time it takes? It all depends on the, I think, SEO crawling.
Yes, but Raj, the point is crawling will help. But if you got hit by a core update, then that takes time. But if you are otherwise thinking, yes, it will be based on crawl. So Google does two sort of crawls. One is the crawl when you update a page, you might immediately Google crawls it in a couple of days. You immediately will see a bump. But then the Google algorithm is going to crunch some numbers, and that update, which usually happens once or twice a month, then your ranking might fluctuate. So usually you can see if it's an on-page parameter, just an on-page of a page, then you can see it 2 to 3 days. You can get it indexed faster. But otherwise it can take, if it's a lot of parameters, backlinks and everything you have been building, it will take 2 months to show up. Yeah, but again, if you have a link from a higher RD, it will be faster. Yeah, Raj.
There's a question by Shweta. She's saying meta keywords matters or not?
No, they don't. And we just almost out of time. So just take last two questions, Raj, and then we'll wind up. Hello?
Yeah, Navneet, I was just reading up the question. So already we are ahead of the time. So guys, I'll take just one question and rest you can mail us and then we can reply over email. This is Rameshwar. He's saying how to retrieve the lost ranking if the website went down because of hosting server issue.
Okay, very good question. How to retrieve lost ranking? It purely depends how long your ranking has been, how long your website has been down. If your website has been down for a couple of days or 3-4 days, rankings will come back naturally back. So it's not that you have lost a race and somebody else took your seat. So, but let's assume your rankings, your server were down and it came back and it had still issues, just as I said, the crawl speed issue. So if the speed issue has become, your server has started responding very slow, the host is loading too many websites, then it could be a problem. But otherwise, in a normal world, you could see as quickly as 2 to 3 days to up to a maximum of 2 weeks once Google crawls all your pages again. Okay, Raj?
Yeah. So I think it's time to close the session. Already we are ahead. So thank you, Navneet. Thanks for giving your valuable time. I hope we all have got a about the SEO thing.
Right.
So I close and I thank you again. So thank you everyone for joining today's session and wish you all the best for your SEO updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
closing.
you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.